So there was firstly, this is a very, very quick video. It's not going to be perfect. I don't have the right mics. I don't have, the right bullshit to record this properly. I just don't have much time. But the reason why I wanted to do this video is obviously MSTR announced today that they bought 55,500 more Bitcoin. But a lot of people are very, very sad about this, right? A lot of people were expecting MSTR to buy 100,000 plus Bitcoin. I want to just do a quick video just to explain to you market dynamics and why MSTR did not purchase 100,000 Bitcoin today, right? So based on the previous, everything is about volume. I want you guys to start thinking about this as market makers and market investors rather than just a single individual investor, which is what most of us are, right? I want you to start thinking a little bit bigger. This is why I say this is what I want this channel to be. We're going to try and take complex ideas and simplify them. So subscribe if you haven't. But based on the previous execution of the ATM, there's two ways they raised capital based on the 8K of MicroStrategy. They had the ATM, which is where they go into the market. I know you've watched my previous videos, so you guys all know this. They go into the market and they sell shares at the money to raise capital. The second way was the senior convertible notes that they issued at a value of $3 billion with a 0% interest rate at the end of last week. So based on those two things and previous executions, the MSTR bull case community was thinking that you're going to see a 5 to 7% yield, aka cash generated, from the trading volume, right? Last week's trading volume on MSTR was $138 billion. Unbelievable. Blew everything out of the expectations. Everything was this was the story of the week on everywhere, everything at all times, right? And that means that people were assuming that there would be a cash generated by MSTR if it's 5 to 7% of the volume that's traded, right? Because that's how they do ATM offers. They have to go into the market and sell it. So in order to do that, you need volume in the market. So what they did was that people were assuming that they would have generated 6.9 to 9.66 billion dollars from the market based on the volume. And then the $3 billion of senior convertible notes came in and would give you a total sum of $9.9 billion to $12.66 billion of cash from the ATM share sales and from the senior convertible notes. And people said that's what they were going to go buy Bitcoin with. By the way, this would have yielded 99,000 to 126,000 Bitcoin at $100,000 per Bitcoin on average. I tweeted last week that I saw them coming in with about 35,000 Bitcoin this Monday, aka today, not 100,000, because when I was looking at the market, I just didn't see that buying force in the markets. I just didn't see the action in the markets, right? If you inject 10 to 13 billion dollars of cash into this spot market, it would have eaten the 2,000 to 5,000 Bitcoin sell wall and crossed 100,000 with absolute ease, like hot knife through butter. But it didn't do that. So I tweeted out in the middle of last week, like I see them coming in with about 35,000, not 100,000. Of course, we're at 55,000. So they yielded, in reality, what happened was they yielded $2.46 billion from the ATM, from selling shares into the market, which represents only 1.7% of the volume, not 5 to 7%. As a result of this, if you're in leveraged instruments like long calls, like I like to buy, or you're in leveraged ETFs, I never touch leveraged ETFs. I don't like those instruments. I just, I think leveraged instruments like MSTU and et cetera, I do not like to touch those things. I think if you're in those, it's wise to evaluate how quickly MSTR can accumulate Bitcoin, because what we're doing when we're buying leverage instruments and like long calls and MSTU is that you are trying to be directionally right in a certain time frame. And if MSTR is acquiring Bitcoin at 1.7% yield of the volume versus 5%, that's going to affect how long it's going to take MSTR to acquire the amount of Bitcoin that you think that they should acquire. And this is obviously going to have an impact on value and on trading value and share price of MSTR. And subsequently, it's going to impact the value of your call options positions or your leverage instrument positions. I don't, as I put on Twitter, if you're not following me on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. As I put on Twitter, I don't touch these leverage instruments because I don't like the way the leverage decays your value, right? If MSTR just stays flat for 3 months, you're going to be down, 10 to 40% on your position, depending on what's going on in the market. So, all I'm saying is that if you are in these leverage instruments, it's handy to evaluate how long it's going to take MSTR to acquire this Bitcoin, because the slingshot, right? We all know that they've got to sell shares into the market or take debt, and that's going to bring the price down short term, and then it's going to come back up. But that slingshot could take longer than you think, and then you're maybe going to be in a tough position if you're trading short-dated call options, or you're in an MSTU or a leveraged MSTR ETF. And then you're going to be stuck, right? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? None of what I'm saying invalidates MSTR as a Bitcoin treasury business. I want that to be absolutely absolutely clear. And it doesn't invalidate MSTR as a long-term investment. I actually moved a lot of capital into MSTR today, and all my holds are always long-term, right? As you guys know, have been following me for a while. It's always long-term stuff, right? You can speculate why the yield was so low from last week's crazy volume compared to the previous execution of ATMs. But if I had to guess, I'd say that they waited too late into the week to start it. And I don't know this, right? This is just me guessing, right? I would say that they waited too long into the week to start executing the ATM. And then they got caught off guard with the Citron research short propaganda. And then they were forced to dump quickly, which caused the share price drop on Thursday. I think that what happened was that Monday they said, hey, let's let the share price run up. Tuesday, let's Wednesday, okay, let's sell a little bit. Thursday happens, share price runs up. They start dumping. Citron starts dumping. Everyone starts dumping. Institutions lift off the buy orders because they see that happening, and the share price just plummeted, right, as we all saw. So I personally think it would have been better to, and I'm not trying to tell anyone how to run their business, but I think it would have been better to just say, no matter what the share price is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're selling $1 billion and raising $5 billion in the market, right? And I think that would have tempered the share price on the way up. We would have maybe reached 460 instead of 570, but we wouldn't have had the massive dump that we had on Thursday, right? And I think that would have been better. In my opinion, at this moment in time, MSTR is stronger than ever. And by the way, I validated that by dumping a bunch of more capital, significant amount of capital into MSTR today. And these are events that happen like this that can catch short-term traders, not long-term holders, short-term traders off guard. And it's what causes short squeezes and long squeezes, right? I think that's, you have to be very, very aware if you are playing that game. So all I wanted to do was make this video just to explain why they didn't get 100,000 Bitcoin, which is what people seem to think that they were going to get. Be careful, please be careful. Like I said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for this asset, and you need to please be careful when you're trading short-term on MSTR or anything, and short-term on leveraged instruments too. Long-term, I think MSTR is stronger than ever now with 55,500 more Bitcoin to go to war with. Can you imagine that? 55,500 Bitcoin to go to war with. And I think that if they continue to play their role right, I think they could be adding 20 to 50,000 Bitcoin per week for a very, very, very long time. And ultimately, this is the best growth engine that the American capital markets have ever seen. And MSTR is that growth engine. The front end will be pumped by equity funds that need that growth on the stock side, and the back end will be pumped by the convertible bond market that needs hedging and needs the ability to generate returns on their bonds. This is a phenomenal story. It's getting stronger and stronger with every Bitcoin they acquire. And again, we're going to take a little bit of time to head back up here, but the business model of MSTR is absolutely working. It's rocking and rolling. So ultimately, there's always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.